Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, welcome back. We begin now our second session of this wonderful event, the first edition of the Romanian Venture Forum. It is an event initiated by the National Association of Entrepreneurs and made with the support of partner companies that have the same values. Therefore, we thank the partners, the National Confederation for Female Entrepreneurship and Bucharest National Opera House, which is our host today, supported by Catalyst Romania, Ropea, Wingate Project, and Belgrade Venture Forum, with our proud partners OMV Petrom and Banca Transilvania. We will begin the second session of the day. With the agenda, we will have two panels and, of course, the green pitching session. As you've seen on the first pitching session, we will also have 5 green startups that will try to impress the jury with their presentations in just 10 minutes. But now let me introduce the moderator for the third panel of the day, speaking about cooperation between business angels and investment funds. And because I mentioned investment funds and business angels, we are very proud to have here today 8 important investment funds and business angels. It's a very big and very important community, and we are glad that they are here at the first edition of the Romanian Venture Forum. So, we'll moderate the third panel. He is the editor-in-chief for Start-up.ro and an avid follower of the Romanian startup ecosystem since 10 years ago. Let me introduce you Mr. Vlad Andriescu.
Thank you. I don't know if I can hear myself. Thank you for being here. So I will invite for this panel 5 distinguished guests and a lot of smart money will be here on the stage. They are over there. So I invite on stage Mălin President of TechAngels, Radu GEORGESCU, serial entrepreneur and founding partner Gecad Ventures, Alexandru BOGDAN, CEO RocaX, Alin STANCIU, partner Catalyst Romania, MIHØESCU, founding partner GapMinder Venture Partners.
Let's hear some applause for the speakers.
In the middle.
Thank you very much. Vlad, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Have a good talk.
Thank you for being here. We're gonna have roughly around 40 minutes for this talk. So I'm gonna start just by asking you to pitch yourself in 30 seconds, every one of you, for the audience to know, if they don't know, it's a pity, about your activity and who are you.
I'm Alin. I'm a programmer, an entrepreneur in the Business Angel since about 10 years, and I lead the TechAngels organization.
Hey, I'm Radu GEORGESCU, serial entrepreneur, and now involved with Seedblink happily.
I'm Alexandru. I'm CEO and GP of RocaX, Romanian by birth VC, with global ambitions, investing across Europe.
Hi everyone, I'm Alin Stanciu, former entrepreneur turned VC professional in 2017. Nice having you all here.
Hi, I'm MIHØESCU, I'm with GapMinder.
Very simple, thank you. So, to talk about this cooperation between business angels and VCs, angel investors have professionalized themselves in the last few years. We have angel communities, syndicated investments. If there is a collaboration between angels, how much do business angels and VCs cooperate? Who wants to start?
Quite a lot, I would say. So, from my own point of view, I think I have about 15 startups I invested in, out of which 12 were invested by VCs as well. So, yeah, we do have quite a good cooperation.
I think it's a long discussion. I think angels are very important for early stage startups. When VCs are looking for revenue for whatever kind of a little bit later stage. And somewhere down the line, the angels are somehow, somewhat, and I don't want to be controversial here, but that's what I feel.
Please be.
are somehow somewhat disregarded by VCs. And there are so many types of angels. Sometimes angels are rightfully disregarded by VCs, like, the wannabes angels and, the type of, I don't want to have you in my cap table type of angels. Some other times, later stage VCs, the Sequoias of the world and so on, are trying to kind of consolidate the cap table and to kick the angels out, in various order. So it's a very dynamic relationship. It's a very interesting relationship. There is no good or bad, VC is good, angels bad, or the other way around. It's a cooperation. It's a very interesting dynamics.
Well, talking about from a VC point of view now, basically I think we are all learning from each other how to work together, and the ecosystem is evolving anyway. The focus of VCs and the mission of VCs is actually evolving in these very tough times. We are trying to figure out what is needed to be done in this period. In parallel, we are learning about the ecosystem of, or the sub-ecosystem of angel investors on continuous basis. As Radu mentioned, there are also not so angel investors, but more like devil investors. We learn how to deal with these things. But the more important thing is that, at least from a VC perspective, we try to foster an environment where everybody works together. So I can talk from our own experience, right? We started in beginning of 2018. The first thing that we've done the first 6 to 9 months was we launched an accelerator program called TechAngels. We attracted as many people from TechAngels and maybe other angel investors to come to the sessions that we have and to help in selecting the companies we want to get through the acceleration program. Sometimes proposing to them to co-invest into the same companies that we decided to invest, sometimes involving them into mentorship programs or as board members into those companies. So it took a while to build up this. By the way, 2018, it was a moment where the ecosystem was a bit low on activity. And this revamped the ecosystem a bit. This collaboration between funds and angel investors actually helped the ecosystem to evolve in the sense that people learned that they can do this. And that was the stage of the market back then. I don't know, in 2017, there were like 17 investments in startups in Romania, and in 2021 there were like, I don't know, 71 investments that were reasonably high, higher than 200K, I think. So it was a moment in 2018 when we had to learn how to work together, and the fact that we found people like Radu or like Mălin into the ecosystem already, it was really a very good thing. We succeeded into having a pipeline of companies for a few years only from these relationships. So I think it's a codependency and a learning relationship between all of us. And so far it worked. I mean, we don't have crazy competition. We had some devil investors, but they are kind of marginalized now after a few years. So we are doing well, I think.
More to come.
Look, Vlad, just to stick to your question, so basically angel investors and VCs, as my co-panelist said, are really codependent, and what's, let's say, an outflow from the angel investment world might become an inflow in our world. So we need angel investors like Mălin, Radu, and others to be in this ecosystem for us. And you can imagine that, for example, for an angel investor to have, I don't know, the first investment round, institutional investment round from a VC is a big accomplishment. So they are not just investing money in the companies, they are usually involved, I don't know, maybe in a direct relation with the founder or operationally. So that's a big accomplishment for them. And again, it's also an opportunity for them to exit when we enter.
Okay, so on one hand, we could have the impression that because we all know each other, it's a known subject, so why do we speak about this? On the other hand, looking at the audience, not everybody is necessarily into all our events, which are pretty constant. So I would like to point out that the ecosystem in general for startups, it's on layers. So it's always very important to have a collaboration between these layers. And each of these layers has a very important role into creating more opportunities and more startups for the next layer. So definitely angels are the ones which are putting the foundation for the early days of startups, especially here in Romania, where I would say that we lack a bit on the 3 Fs, the friends, family, and fools. Not everybody knows somebody who is willing to risk their money from the family, from the friends' environment. So they need to depend on the involvement of early stage angels. And therefore, they are going to be the first ones to form those businesses, to contribute, to give advice, and to prepare them for the next level investors, which could be maybe crowdfunding, maybe would be us as early stage. Again, there's lots of terminology which in the ecosystem, it's understood differently depending on the position. Some would say that Catalyst, our colleagues, are still early stage investors. We are very early stage investors then. They are later stage investors, but still not the late stage round C, D, E, and so on. So we need to, all of us, have a very close collaboration and contribute to the best of our knowledge to the success of that startup, because this is what we all aim for. A successful startup which becomes a standalone business, and everybody gets the best out of this success story, and including the ecosystem, because success stories are the engine for the growth that we are seeing now.
I heard some words that I put down here. Devil investors, angel investors disregarded by the VC funds. So business angels come into the life of a startup at a very early stage, maybe just after the idea phase, finding the product market fit. So what can a business angel do in order to help that startup? And what can he or she do that can mess up the future of a startup and basically mess up the future investments?
Okay, I can take this. So there are plenty of things that a business angel can do if he's involved in the life of the startup. So as long as he's operationally involved, he can drive the startups towards, I don't know, a bad strategic direction, for example. Of course, we most often see angel investors in the cap table. We as VCs, we are trying to somehow decrease the cost of our investments. So we are assessing, okay, is this angel investor really contributing to the startup? Does he has a follow-on capacity? Do we need him anymore? So that's not to mention about.
Let me stop you here for a second, because yes, I really want to kind of get into this discussion. It's a very interesting discussion. While I'm in a very interesting position because I'm on all the sides of the table.
Yeah, you're wearing all the hats.
I'm a very crazy animal, so I'm investing myself as an angel investor, and you know, Seedblink is investing as a syndicate of business angels, and Gecad Ventures is investing as a VC. So it's a very funny combination. So what you said, and I'd like to discuss this, is that the VCs are looking at the angel investor and assessing whether they add value or not at this moment, and that's fair, right? But you know, 1 year before, the angel added all the value in the world because maybe the company was not there without the angel's money, right? So how do you see this?
When I say value, I'm not meaning money necessarily, because there are opportunities when a startup founder is, I don't know, desperate, and he will sell 20% of his or her company for, I don't know, 50K. So that's money needed to survive. But in order for the company, I don't know, to scale up, to really get market traction, then you need some expertise. That expertise could be, I don't know, informal. Yeah, you call the business angel. Do you know this guy from, I don't know, which telecom company? Or it can be in a more structured way. When we are entering a company, we are trying to set up, for example, it's our case, but I know everybody from here does the same. We are trying to structure a governance in the company, the right board expertise. It's not just we put money and we come here. If I, for example, if I don't know anything on one vertical, I won't be in the board of that company. And it's the same thing goes also for the VC, for the angel investors. And I know most of you, because you are referring to all your positions in the ecosystem, but I know you or Mălin were involved in companies where you really understood the business and you really can help the founder with network, with advice, with everything else. So again, expertise is very important. It's not just the money. And that's not just, I don't know, big words.
Who wants to contribute to this debate?
Actually, I'll switch it up from another angle, right? From another approach. So basically, to answer your question, initial question is like maybe it's good to understand that the angel investors are rather generalists. A lot of them are generalists, very few are hyper specialized, while the funds have investment thesis. Of course, in Central Europe, most of the funds have to have a general type of approach, but there are focuses, right? Each fund has a certain focus. So in order to interact properly between the angel investors, startups, and funds, everybody needs to understand where it stands, what is the focus, and not waste time, right? So if you have a B2C, business to consumer type of startup, it's probably not a good idea to talk to GapMinder, because probably we don't understand it that well. And probably we don't value it that much or anything. Maybe, and this is more important, maybe we cannot help it, right? So probably we won't be interested, right? So the most important part, I think, for the next period is to get the market a bit more structured. There'll be more VC funds and larger VC funds that appear into the picture here, with Romanian focus, not necessarily structured in Romania, which is a totally different topic. And I don't want to go there. So, okay. But there'll be probably in the range of 5 to 6 funds within 2 years from now. There'll be, Seedlink will have probably 30,000 angel investors, retail type of angel investors. TechAngels and TAN, which is the Transylvania Angel Network, would have more educated and hands-on, basically, type of angel investors, which is another flavor of angel investors, of course. So we all need to learn how we work and what is our focus. Otherwise, it would be, a lot of waste of time, and nobody wants that. You don't want to knock at all the doors and receive no after no after no. Nobody wants to do that. So I guess paying attention on how the market will be structured is very important, and I think that in 2 years we'll have this certain level of focus, if not specialization, certain layers in terms of size of rounds and interest. And probably we will have also, through those programs that are regional, maybe some accelerator type of funds or mini funds that will be a great contributor to the pipeline and to the ecosystem, right? And they will work together with lots of angel investors, and when those startups will get more mature, well, guess what? There'll be other funds like us interested into talking to those companies. So, to answer your initial question, and not going on the controversy thing, is like, well, maybe it's a good thing to pay attention and learn a few things in the next 2 years.
Alin?
One thing here, so I cannot talk too much about VCs because I'm not, a VC myself. But for business angels, in my opinion, it is very important to invest when they think they can help. Now, having said that, the hell is paved with good intentions, so sometimes they might be toxic or devil or whatever, but I think every time they will try to help. Maybe they'll do it wrongly, but I think angels will try to help, and we should get involved into, holding the hand of the startup and, helping it to grow. Otherwise, it's not really. So angel investment is not, in my opinion, only a financial investment.
But, Alexandru?
Okay, so coming a bit back to your question and actually what Mălin said, it's very important to make this distinction between angels, which normally should have not necessarily just monetary contribution. They should be able to guide the startup in its early days. There are hitchhikers, which are sometimes just contributing a bit to just make a profit out of it, and it's a purely financial investment, or including the crowdfunding, which not necessarily does a direct contribution to this part, but definitely a great collaboration between angels, which can sit in the board, can sit in the company and get even more involved into the future of the company. It's a great addition as long as that contribution is clear, as Dan was saying, toward the direction and the domain in which that company is activating. And I would say that it's no offense taken, even for us as a VC. We will have later stage VCs. We'll have Series D, Series E VCs. And I would love to get an exit out of a Series E VC, because at that point, definitely I'm not going to contribute anymore. So when it's a pre-seed, when it's a seed investment, maybe even when it's closer to Series A, I'm going to be able to give that smart in the smart money concept. But later on, definitely for me would be a very good addition. So I wouldn't take it necessarily as a conflictual solution, but also as a working together solution by liquidating actually, and this is one of the challenges that Adrian, I think, mentioned earlier about the liquidity of venture investments, because you are committed there for a long term, and actually these kind of opportunities are the ones which can fuel further the appetite for taking more risks, for taking more bigger tickets.
But I want to talk about the solitary angels. Sounds a bit philosophical, because I see less and less solitary angels, but maybe I don't know about their investments. Maybe they are not in the media in the end. So, from the business angel perspective, what's the risk of being right now a solitary business angel, investing in someone, maybe you know, a friend or something else, and not be in a syndicate on Seedbank, for example, in an organization like TechAngels? And afterwards, I will switch to the VCs for this question.
To give you a short story, when I first invested in a startup, I was a solitary angel investor. One of the reasons was there were not too many angel investors at the time.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be solitary, it just happened. You learn the hard way. I mean, it's not necessarily something bad. You can learn out of it, and it could be a good skill to be, I mean, to just take it in your own hands. I think a group can help, and it's, you know, sometimes you can shortcut the learning process by being in a group.
Yeah, I think that investing is not roulette and is not lotto, you know, lottery. I think that investment, being it on, you know, PE, VC, or angel investor, should be based on a portfolio. So then you bring statistics to the table and everything, and on the thesis, so that you can contribute to what you said. So I think that coming and having, and as an angel investor, you want to create a portfolio and, you know, getting into statistics, and therefore you need to see opportunities and to be able to pick and so on, and to see opportunities that are pre-digested and so on. So therefore organizations like TechAngels, that I'm a proud founder of, so, and Seedblink, that again I'm a very happy founder, are organizations that help bring the food on the table, right? So bring you know, building the funnel, so you can pick and choose. Now, building a portfolio, I think it's a very important thing. Second, I believe that being able to judge, and let me step back here. I think that an angel investor, as a VC, it's not a part-time job. I think it's a full-time job. I think an angel investor should be willing to invest time and not kind of, pick up lottery picks, and be able to understand what, companies are telling them, to be able to understand, to pick whatever suits them, to understand where the economy goes and the technology goes. And that's where syndication help, and that's where a group helps. So yeah, I believe that TechAngels, SeedBlink, Transylvania Angels are groups that in different ways and forms are bringing a lot of value to the angel investor to be able to build and manage, the portfolio, to the angel investor to come to a group, to a syndicate, to make sure that the negotiation is kind of better as a group, not as an individual, and then to be able to moderate the help that the group of angels can bring to the company, so it doesn't become, a lot of noise to the company, but to actually become real help.
Thank you. So switching to the VCs, what do you think when you see in a startup in the cap table just a guy or a woman there, a person in the cap table, a solitary business angel? What do you do then? And not Radu or Mălin.
Radu, Mălin, or any other business agent, I would say it's a great addition, again, if it's a matching. We always give advice when we have mentoring sessions that the founders should get the money whenever it's available from anybody which is aligned in terms of values and can contribute. So that notion of the smart money. So having a solitary angel into that cap table, I would say sometimes it's even better than a big syndicate. Because the alternative is syndication, and syndication has a very important role in terms of supporting, especially in a sub-financed ecosystem like ours, to provide the successful startups with enough powder to be competitive on the international markets. That's an important thing to mention, because if you're in the States, you might get like millions on PPT presentation, and in Romania, if you get like 500K on already several tens of thousands MRR, it's a good thing. So it's not an equal battle between the forces. So many times we syndicate deals. We syndicate deals between VCs and angels, between VCs, in order to give more chances to those startups in which we believe in to succeed. At the same time, the risk of over-syndicating, it's huge, because if you get a band of like 30 angels individually on the cap table, I think that's a negative impact. Because there are so many people which need to vote, which need to get involved into the life of the company to contribute, and actually in these situations they are no longer contributing, because whenever it's a crowd, there's nobody's responsibility. So you always say, the other one is going to be, he needs to also be involved, or why should I waste so much time because everybody's getting something out of my investment in terms of time and contribution.
Just that the syndication by design of the world, of the word, it's like, getting 50 people under one line of the cap table. So just wanting to comment here.
Not very familiar actually with that the definition that you need to have 50 people under one line. So syndication can be a round, which is 1 million, in which Dan puts 300, I put 100, Alin contributes also, and also you are contributing. It can be 3 or 5 or 50, but 50, it's crowd. So it's no longer syndicate, it's a crowd. I think that this is
we can say crowd as many times as you want to make it a bad thing, but most of the syndications that I've seen with TechAngels, and definitely all the syndications that are coming with SeedBlink, are coming under one line of a cap table. And I'm wondering what's your problem? Your problem is with the number of lines of the cap table? Or there is a different
Both.
problem with the crowd?
On
please,
one
do
hand,
tell me.
the number of lines in the cap
Okay.
table, which will complicate, and then when Alin is going to come and say, to evaluate whether those are contributing,
That I agree.
it's going to take a lot of time for him to evaluate 50 lines. On the other hand, it's the issue with the implication of that crowd, because again, the crowd cannot get really involved. A few persons.
No, let me.
And I would like to mention a very
Please
positive,
define
a
crowd.
very positive,
Please
a
define
very
the word
positive
crowd.
example.
Is 50 people crowd?
A very positive example would be from Growceanu, where there's always, regardless of how many contributors are in a ticket, there's always one person designated to that account. And it always comes to every board and strategy meeting and gives their contribution. Again, good or bad, it's always a discussion. But they contribute directly, regardless if it's 2 or if it's 50 behind.
Please tell me a number where you can define a crowd. Is 50 a crowd? Is 10 a crowd? Or what?
Depends on the space. Is this a crowd here? Maybe it's a crowd. But if it's a smaller space, definitely we're crammed.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, let me address one of your questions. So basically, first, let me try not to demonize the idea of solitary angel investor, because that's a common practice, right? And then there are some syndication that appears, and talking to what you said, Radu, I think Alex's problem was to have so many names on the cap table, which none of us likes. On the other hand,
I fully agree.
Sorry?
That I fully agree.
Yeah, okay. And on the other hand, if a syndication of angel investor will come in one of, let's say, our investee companies, I would personally like to have one representative that is really involved as much as I am. So we don't really want to see a syndication where no one is, let's say, taking charge of handling the portfolio companies. We rather see syndication of angel investors working like we do. So that's the idea. And I think you were talking somehow the same thing in the end.
Excuse me one moment. About this, so I think the crowd itself is not a problem. Organizing the crowd can be a problem. That's one. The second thing is, even with the number of the people in a cap table, it is a problem if they all have to sign for whatever paper. But if it's a proper organization, if we have, I don't know, a shareholder structure, shareholder SA structure, right? Then it's not such a big deal in the end. And I can see a lot of companies listed on the stock market that don't complain about the number of shareholders they have, right? So it's organizing the crowd, the thing that should be of concern, not really the crowd itself.
Yeah, well, to answer your initial question, again, just because I don't want to get into it, it's like, look, if we are falling in love with any company, we actually don't do it because of the angel investors. We're looking at very different things. We probably fell in love with a company because of the team, because of the potential of that product, the way they're sharing their dreams, and the way they are showing that I can actually make it happen. And you know, when we're looking at the angel investors, it's like, okay, let's look at the cap table. Okay, so do I see anything crazy there? Nah. If yes, I'm gonna suggest, if we are in love with the company and we want to make a proposal, we're gonna make a proposal that includes some correction type of actions, some cleaning, but nothing major, really. I can understand the concern, however, from a pure legal or technical perspective. If we are talking about most of these startups, at the very early stage are incorporated in Romania under the Romanian company law, which is rather simplistic, not to say primitive, does not allow for, I don't know, a SRL, a limited company. You don't have so many share classes, you don't have so many things that you can do in other places. And then you have the issue of enforceability. What happens if one of the people in the cap table just decides to go 6 months on a trip? How do you solve certain things during that thing, if you need to sign, for example? We had that situation, by the way, and we solved it. But from a pure technical perspective, there can be concerns. But I think it's easy to manage, and we should not, I mean, if we love a company, we're gonna do it. If we see a red flag, it usually doesn't come from the angel investors. It really comes from the structure of the cap table, maybe. And when you look at the angel investors, you should look like, well, how can they help this? How can they make the life better for the company? If you don't get that feeling, and you should get it from the entrepreneurs, really. That's where you ask, how are these guys? You ask the entrepreneurs, how are these guys, right? About the angel investors. And you get the flavor, you get the feedback, you know, the relationship. How it is built? Is it a trust relationship? Or is it clashes and clashes? You get it. So I guess it's not that bad. You know, crowd, no crowd, it can be solved.
Thank you. I love a debate, so this is why I let you talk about this subject. But because we are reaching the end of our panel, we talked about co-investments, and there are many of co-investments right now in the market. What are the aspects that VCs and business angels should take into consideration when doing this type of co-investments? And is the power relationship between the VCs and the business angels, how does it work?
I believe it depends on the moment of the transaction. So probably at the very early stages, the VCs are not there, right? Yeah. So angels are, and they do, you know, scout and see and invest and so on. Later on, it may be that the angel is helping the startup to address the VCs, whereas if the startup is good, the angel has a power position, because the startup may choose one VC or the other, and out of my experience, what the angel investor is saying counts. So they can, you know, help into one direction or another. Later on, when the startup grows and the angel may become, well, not so helpful anymore, I agree that it's good as an angel to have an opportunity, but by the way, it should be an opportunity, not you know, a must-do that you can exit. And obviously, the VC has a stronger position, and they can, you know, do things. But somehow it's balanced by the way it works, in my opinion.
Look, Vlad, just to give a VC perspective, we're funnily enough having here two angel investors that have invested along with us in the first fund portfolio. And really, and probably Radu can explain a lot, sometimes when an angel investors invest or co-invest together with a VC, they are following completely the lead of the VC, but not just following all the procedures, but following the exercise. So the VC is actually putting a guarantee stamp on that startup, and then the angel investor just follows because he knows the domain, he likes the company, he likes who partners with. So that's one of the cases in which angel investors are investing along with VC. Other than this, is usually angel investors first, and then the VC comes.
So because we have roughly around 2 minutes, just to wrap it up, in a pessimistic or optimistic way, I just want to ask you about some perspectives about 2023 for the local ecosystem, because we are hearing about challenges on the market, economical challenges, even for the startups and for further investments. So what are your thoughts?
So, first of all, I think that this image represents a lot of the Romanian ecosystem. The room here, the Opera House, and the elegance, the size, show our ambitions. Definitely, we have ambitions and we have hopes about our ecosystem. How big is the crowd? Again, crowd. Shows the reality, how popular the topic is, how many get involved, And I think that also it was on a previous panel that somebody was mentioning, I think Adrian, about the small number of really active investors out of that range between 1 and 5 million, or which could get involved and which could support the development of this ecosystem. I think despite the economic conditions which are getting all the headlines, we will see, and I was looking this morning at some results of the state of the ecosystem report done by Atomico across Europe, which are showing still good numbers. So even though there weren't enough headlines, the amount of investments has been consistent also this year and probably will continue through the next year, because there's a lot of focus, especially in Europe, into making Europe a very competitive environment. So I'm very optimistic into what will happen next. Maybe it's not going to be in January, maybe it's going to be in the autumn, maybe, yes, everybody needs to plan for the worst, but definitely there will be better times. The ecosystem should continue growing, the collaboration in the ecosystem should continue to be there and to maintain a certain standard so that we can really support and educate the future unicorns from Romania.
We have just 1 more minute, so who wants to be very quick?
Just a quick comment. Being a small world, this VC or angel investing world has an advantage. So basically every economic downturns will not affect us that much.
One thing I want to say, which I think it's important, what we have here in this ecosystem is very nice. It's built in a healthy way. It's based on economical principles. It's working fine, and it's going to keep working fine as long as we don't have politicians getting involved too much into it, in my opinion.
That's a subject for another panel, a very long one. Radu, if you want to.
No, not that much. Not that much. There's a lot of food for thought here that I'm gonna take on of this panel. I think that there is a need of speaking not of Romania but of Europe. I think that consolidation of the crowd in Europe is important. Me personally, as an angel investor, being part of a crowd of angel investors that are specialized in technology, I would like to be part of a crowd that's European. I would like to see European companies, European companies that have opportunities to invest in Bulgaria, in Greece, in London, in Berlin, and so on. I think that focusing on Romania, it's great, it's our country and so on and so forth, but being European, it's a bigger opportunity, it's a strategic opportunity because Europe needs to get consolidated on a technology level, not to be dependent on, Russia, China technology, not even US technology. And this geostrategic opportunity brings a lot of shareholder value opportunity. And I believe that more is better than one, to what you're saying with the cap table, I want one angel investor and so on. And that is a problem, and indeed, I mean, the most important thing is what Mălin said, organizing this, and that's important. But I do think that more is better than one on so many levels.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for this discussion, which I would gladly continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Vlad. Thank you, distinguished speakers. This ends the third panel of the first edition of the Romanian Venture Forum.